if it's wearing a pink hat and a red nose and it plays a guitar upside down, I'll go and look at it. You know, and I love to see people being dangerous. There was a real feeling of inadequacy in that era. I never really felt like a rock singer or rock star or whatever. And I always felt a little bit out of my element, which is a ridiculously highfalutin way of looking at it now from my standpoint when I look back and realise that from 72 through till about 76, I was the ultimate rock star. I couldn't have been more rock star.
Records and
but the lifestyle and everything. I mean, it's sort of, you know, anything that was going out there that had anything to do with it being a rock and roll singer, then I'd say, hey, let's go for this, see what it's like.
I read a quote, somebody called you a surreal cartoon character brought to life.
It was sort of, yeah. Ziggy was. I mean, he was half out of sci-fi rock and half out of the Japanese theatre. The clothes were, that time, simply outrageous and simply, nobody had seen anything like them before.
Was there a point where people didn't take your music seriously because you were...
I think I moved out of Ziggy fast enough so as not to be caught by that one. Because most rock characters that one can create only have a short lifespan. They are one-shots, they are cartoony. And the Ziggy thing was worth about 1 or 2 albums before I couldn't really write anything else around him or the world that I sort of wanted to put together for him. Ziggy played guitar. I'm a moderately good singer. I'm not a great singer, but I can interpret a song, which I don't think is quite the same as singing it. So I was never unaware of my strength as an interpretive performer, but writing a song for me always, it never rang true. I had no problem writing something for Iggy Pop, or working with Lou Reed, or writing for Mott the Hoople. I can get into their mood and what they want to do, but I find it extremely hard to write for me. So I found it quite easy to write for the artist that I would create. I did find it much easier, having created the Ziggy, to then write for him. even though it's me doing it, I was able to sort of distance myself from the whole. Yeah, well, it can become very complicated.
There is a psychological
yes, it is. Yeah, fucking with the fabric of time. There, it did bring a whole sack full of its own inherent problems, but it.
You have an affection for some of these characters that you've created as you...
I think the only time I get sort of, you know, kind of nostalgic about any of that stuff at all is if I see the odd video or something, or I see a bit of the Ziggy Stardust concerts or whatever. No, other than that, I don't think I'm cold about them, but I think it's work done.
I think that's an actor's attitude too.
I think you have to, otherwise you start... Yeah, you get into a danger of getting into the rut and maybe try to perpetuate something that's gone before. A lot of people that I know are bugged with the idea that they've got to have an audience, they've got to be liked. And I think the more that you fall into that trap, it makes your own life harder to come to terms with, because an audience appreciation is only going to be periodic at the best of times. You'll fall in and out of favour continually. I don't think it should be something one should be looking for. I think you should turn around at the end of the day and say, I really like that piece of work, or that piece of work sucked. Not, was that popular or wasn't it popular?
Is it hard being David Bowie?
Not really, not now. No, I don't have the outsider's problem. I mean, for me, and the world that I inhabit in reality is probably a very different world from the one that people would expect that I would be in. It's quite sedate. It's far removed from a lot of what they would feel would be the limousine trappings of a rock existence or whatever. I went to one of the first art-oriented high schools in England, and I had a very excellent teacher, Peter Frampton's father, who really kind of was quite an inspiration. I went into the visual side of an advertising agency, and I was doing paste-up jobs and small designs for raincoats and things like that. Awful.
Maybe,
Absolutely
well,
awful.
maybe you should have kept it too. You'd have owned 4
Well,
shops.
if all this goes down the tubes,
You can always
go and get on Madison Ave there with the best of them. I think those days are over.